our Listen, Learn, and Act series. And this afternoon, we are joined by some of our Gator student-athletes representing various sports. But the one thing that each of their sports have in common is these are sports where traditionally the participants are non-white, or pardon me, majority white participants. And so these student-athletes have grown up in sports where often they are the only ones that are either Black or brown student-athletes in those sports. And we want to hear about their experiences, some of the challenges, but also some of the opportunities that come with that, and maybe some words that they have for future athletes in their sports and encourage them to participate. So with that, I will leave it to Denver to introduce us to our student-athletes.
Thanks, Linda. Appreciate that. Appreciate all of our participants today. We have 10 student-athletes here who generously volunteered their time, their expertise, and their experiences today. Welcome to everybody who's watching, whether you're watching live, whether you're watching this later. We appreciate you taking the time to be part of this conversation. You know, there's no end point on the journey of education. So, you know, I think we all have an opportunity to learn and grow from this discussion today. Before we get into the discussion, I want to give each of our student athletes the opportunity to introduce themselves. So I'm just going to call on them one by one here to give you a little bit, you know, their name, what year they are here at UF, major, if they have one at this point, hometown, and their sport. And if you guys want to throw in your position or event, you're welcome to do that too. So Tiara, will you start us off?
Yeah, my name is Tiara Caesar. I am a registered junior here at the University of Florida. My major is criminology. I'm from Panama City, Florida, and I play volleyball here.
Thank you. Isaac?
Hi, my name is Isaac Davis. I am a junior here at UF. My major is digital arts and science. My hometown is Jacksonville, Florida, and my sport is swimming, primarily sprint events like 50 and the 100.
Thanks, Isaac. Will?
Hi, my name is Will Davis IV. I am a junior at the University of Florida. My major is sports management and business. My hometown is also Jacksonville, Florida. And I swim. My primary events are 50 free, 100 free, 100 fly.
Thanks, Will. Jamie?
Hey everyone, I'm Jamie Hoover. I play softball. I am a fifth-year student-athlete and a senior academically. I'm from Stone Mountain, Georgia, and yeah.
Thanks, Jamie. Dario?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dario King. I'm a registered senior. My major is Family, Youth, and Community Services. I play volleyball, and I'm from Dallas, Texas.
Thank you. Alex?
Hi, I'm Alex McGee. I am an incoming freshman this year. I will be joining the gymnastics team. My major is biomedical engineering, and I'm from Orlando, Florida.
Thanks, Alex. Naya?
Hi, guys, my name is Naya Reed. I'm a junior, and my major is applied physiology and kinesiology. My hometown is Landover, Maryland, and the sport that I play is gymnastics.
Naya. Deanne?
Hi, my name is Deanne Rose, and my major is sociology. My hometown is Ontario, Canada, and I play soccer at University of Florida.
Thank you. Trinity?
Hi, my name is Trinity Thomas. I'm an APK major. I am from York, Pennsylvania, and I'm a junior on the gymnastics team.
Thanks, Trinity. Marley?
Hi, I'm Marley Zane. I'm from Houston, Texas. I'm a health education behavior major. I play tennis at UF.
All right, thanks to all of you. Before we move on, I didn't forget anyone, did I? Because I think when we did our head coach call, I accidentally skipped Tim Walton. So sorry, Tim, if you're out there. All right, we got everybody. Well, let's dive in then. The first question I want to start with is it difficult to maintain your sense of individuality on a predominantly white team? Or to put it another way, do you feel like sometimes you're only regarded as the Black softball player, the Black swimmer, et cetera, and that some people may not make the effort to get to know you as an individual. Jamie, would you start for us?
Yeah, so I definitely think it is pretty difficult to maintain my sense of individuality on a predominantly white team. I often find myself code switching or, presenting myself in a way that doesn't truly fit who I am as a person. It's almost kind of like I'm wearing a mask, and I know the irony in that, but not a literal mask, but kind of a mask that kind of hides who I am. It's a mask that, I guess, quote unquote, allows me to kind of get by in our white society. And truthfully, I created this mask to put on in order to feel accepted. And like, yeah, it sucks. Like, I hate admitting that I wear this mask to feel accepted. And it sucks to admit that at the end of the day, like, how can any of us really, succeed and be the best version of ourselves when we aren't being 100% ourselves?
Absolutely. For people who may not be familiar with the term, would you mind saying a little more about code switching?
Yeah, absolutely. So code switching is basically you changing your language around a different groups of people, I guess. So you talk a certain way around this group and then a different way around this group.
Thanks so much, Jamie. Appreciate that. Marley, would you be able to speak to this?
Yeah, I definitely identify with what Jamie's saying about kind of censoring yourself and putting on a different not different persona, say, like, I'm still being myself, but just kind of maybe toning down, muting some parts of yourself to just kind of fit in. I think that being in a predominantly white sport, and I've my whole life pretty much been around people that were not Black, I kind of unconsciously even do this. And I think it's definitely played a part in kind of losing that like sense of Black pride and that sense of kind of being proud of who you are, not even just as a Black person, but just as a Black woman, and just losing that kind of sense of empowerment. And I think in general, people just always feel more comfortable around people that look like you, sound like you, have your same kind of background. And so I think it's definitely, it can get difficult at times. And on one of my first days at UF, someone told me like, oh, I didn't even know Black people played tennis. And it's just like kind of like that kind of thing where people don't even think that in a predominantly white sport, there are people of color, not just even Black people, but like any person of color in general.
Thank you, Marley. Appreciate you sharing that. Alex?
I definitely relate to Jamie and Marley because I feel like I don't really, I'm myself around my teammates, but sometimes, again, with the code switching, I feel like sometimes I have to tone it down, or I can't, say certain slang that I would normally with my Black friends if I was around people who are not of color. So I just feel like that's one thing that I have to do. And also, I just feel like, they might not understand or something where you're coming from with your certain background or culture. So you can have like certain conversations with them, and it's hard to kind of fit in.
Mm-hmm. Thanks, Alex. Isaac, do you have something you could share with us?
Yeah, so I definitely identify with all the ladies here. Growing up, we moved a lot. So that made us have to move to different teams. Luckily, we were homeschooled, but that also played a part into social stigma of a dumb athlete, which was unfortunate. I remember when we moved to Chicago, they didn't really pay attention to us at all. I remember having a coach who literally gave us a set and then played on his phone, Monopoly on his phone, the entire practice until we were finished. And the parents were like that the same way. They just thought, oh, they're just Black kids. They're not going to really do much here. We're just going to throw them to the side or anything like that. It wasn't until we started progressing and started actually beating their kids that they started to take notice. And they took notice in a kind of not necessarily a positive way. They started asking us a bunch of questions, kind of bothering my mom with, oh, what are you feeding them? Are they lifting weights? Just asking her a bunch of questions on what exactly we were doing. We were just doing the same thing that your kids were doing. I remember that there was a couple kids whose parents were dead set on making their kids do whatever they could to beat us. I mean, they would just yell at their kids like, what are you doing? Like, they should not be beating you. This isn't even their sport. And dealing with stuff like that, that was definitely hard. Growing up in a predominantly white sport definitely played a part in how we kind of speak. I've been referred to as a white Black person because of how I speak, not traditionally the Ebonic language of the stereotypes that people think I would speak because I'm Black. But it definitely is hard sometimes to keep my individuality in a predominantly white sport just because of everything that people think what I should be instead of what I actually am. So.
What's the effect on you when someone makes a comment like that saying, you know, you're like a white Black person or you're not really Black?
So it's kind of funny just because my mom has said it too, and just because it's just the way I carry myself. You know, you have the stereotypes of, unfortunately, African Americans who speak in broken language. I believe it's called Ebonics, or, you know, act a certain way, walk down with their pants half down their ankles or something like that. And just the way I carry myself, it's not the typical of what you would traditionally think a Black person would do. I mean, I'm okay with it just because it just means that I'm different. I'm still Black, obviously. I'm still Black. That doesn't change. But it's the way that I carry myself. I carry myself a lot higher, and I have a lot of higher standards for myself to portray myself as something different. Because a lot of people were like, wow, I never expected you to be this way, when they actually got to know me rather than just assuming I was going to be one way.
Yeah, so it speaks to their stereotypes, very much so. Did anybody else have anything on this topic before we move on?
I can
Yeah, go ahead, Marley.
About the kind of being called a white Black person, or being called like an Oreo or whatever else people like to say, just because maybe you speak clearly, you articulate well, you're smart, you're intelligent, you don't like feed into the Black stereotypes. And I just kind of take it as, one, it's kind of annoying just because, like, what do you think that I should be? Like, what do you think that I should be saying? Why do you think that I should be that way? I'm just being myself, how I'm raised. Like, it just is a frustrating concept for people to say that, because it's like, well, what do you mean by that? What do you expect me to be? Like, what else would I be?
Yeah, thank you, Marley. Sticking a little bit with the theme of individuality, has your experience been that comparisons in your sport are racialized? And how does that impact your sense of individuality? Tiara, would you start us off?
Yeah, so one thing that I'll point out, so in my sport of volleyball, there is this stigma of, there's this sense of sensitivity that has kind of always been there. I've been playing volleyball since I was 7, and I feel like on every team I've been on, there's been that stigma there that you have to kind of watch what you say, to like the team or to certain people. And because of that, because of what I look like and who I am, sometimes some people are scared to approach me or say things to me. Sometimes they think that I have an attitude when I do not. My behavior is very direct, so I tend to call things out, especially because from when I've been playing this my whole life, you know, when you love something, you put your whole heart, mind, body, and soul into it. So I think one stigma that has also been, that I have had to go through, is being labeled as the angry Black woman. And I think sometimes it can be hard for when I want to call out my teammates, not because I hate them, but because, you know, I care, I want us to win. So then sometimes I feel like I have to suppress who I am and my directness towards, you know, my teammates, just because I care. So I think that comparison, you know, people thinking that like I'm really upset or angry, that is a big thing in my sport. So.
Thanks, Tiara. Dario?
Yes, I've also had the same experiences as TR, but another thing that I've always heard growing up was that I was only good for volleyball because I was athletic. And I feel like most people kind of look at Black girls that way, at least with the people that I've played with. They've looked at me as, okay, well, you can only hit that ball this way because you're athletic. You can only play volleyball this way because you're athletic, when it's like I put in the same amount of work as you did. And and another thing that kind of ties into that is that we don't really have the IQ to, I guess, figure out the things that we need to figure out with volleyball. So I think I've kind of been guilty of that stereotype, and I've kind of let that affect me in a way, because I've heard it so much. So it's kind of like, okay, well, when you hear the same thing over and over again, that you are only good for volleyball because you're athletic, and you don't really have the tools that you need because you're not smart enough, you don't have the right IQ. I mean, it kind of has made me believe that within myself. And now that, we're able to do this type of talk, and you hear other people's experiences and stuff like that, you hear that, I mean, it's just a stereotype. An example, we do this thing in volleyball where we watch film, and there may be a time where I know the exact answer, I know exactly what to say, but I just simply won't say it for the simple fact that I'm scared of looking crazy. I don't want to sound like, oh, I don't know what I'm talking about, or I want to make sure that I'm saying the exact words that, sound right to the coaches or the team. And I just feel like that has put me in a box in a way. So, yeah.
Yeah, what you're saying, it kind of gives you the perception, I guess, that you need to be perfect. Otherwise, you're just, reinforcing kind of some of those negative stereotypes. Deanne, can you jump in here?
Yeah, some of my experiences are kind of similar in the way of being labeled as like athletic. Like in soccer, I know that for me, my whole life, it's kind of been geared towards being like the fast Black girl, or the non-technical Black girl, not as technical. Even if I am, like, it's just like a box, like Daria was saying, that I've been put in. And I've just felt like throughout the different teams that I've been on, like I've actually noticed that coaches like will coach me different. Like I've always been on a team with like less than 3 or 4 Black people on it. And the Black people so happen to be the fastest people on the team. There are white people or other people of different races that are fast as well. But I've just always found that the Black people are coached a certain way, which has limited my abilities in terms of getting certain things out of practice that I needed to.
Thanks, Deanne. Did anybody else have anything here before we move on to the next?
I did.
Yeah, go
I
ahead.
definitely want to agree with Dariel, because there have been times when, we've been asked a question in practice, or we've been going through over footage or something like that, and he asked us a question and I literally had the answer. I knew I had the answer, but I was quiet because I didn't want to get that side eye or something like that. I remember there was a times when I would say, so for people who know me, I'm goofy. Like I do a lot of goofy stuff and stuff like that. But there would be times when I'd say something, it was right, but not necessarily. And then somebody would say, "Oh, there goes that homeschooling education," or "Don't worry, he's homeschooled." Like, seriously, like me being homeschooled has nothing to do with that particular answer. Maybe it wasn't the right answer at the time, but that has nothing to do with my education or anything like that. And then another thing was, people think that I could only do basketball, football, baseball, stuff like that. Fortunately, my brother and I have been blessed to be able to physically be able to do any sport we put our mind to. But we chose swimming because it's different, because it's not what most people do. I mean, we look at the water, we don't get it. But to be in the sport of swimming is just a special thing, just because it's different. It sets us apart from everyone else. It sets us apart from the social stigma of, oh, they should just be doing basketball or baseball or football or anything like that. So that was definitely an important thing for me.
Thanks, Isaac. Anything else there before we move on?
I can speak. I think that overall in the Black community, not even just in athletics, there's this perception of like having to be perfect, even just to measure up to, your white counterparts. And I think that definitely speaks to what Darielle and Isaac and Tiara are all saying, and Deanne, because it's like this idea that you can't make a mistake, you can't say the wrong thing, or else people will look at you in the stereotype that you don't want to be looked at in. And you feel like you have to be on 10 at all times. And it's kind of frustrating because your white counterparts may say something that's not right, and you know that it's not right, but they don't get the same reactions that you might. And so I think that's definitely something within the Black community that is very frustrating, is the idea that you have to say the right things, act the right way at all times. And if you don't, then you are labeled as that stereotype. And I also think that talking about the kind of Black athleticism, I think in a way people try to discount all the work that you put in and all the effort that you put in into your own sport by just saying like, oh, all Black people are athletic, or that's just your genes. Like, that's not like the actual talent that you have. That's not like the actual work that you put in, and kind of trying to discount everything that you've worked for your literally entire life to get to the point where you are, instead of acknowledging that hard work, the same hard work that all of your white counterparts have done, but just kind of not acknowledging that and just being like, oh, it's just because you're Black. Oh, it's just because all Black people are athletic.
Yep. Thanks, Marley. And, you know, to your points a little bit there, Marley, I think, you know, am I hearing this right, that, you know, if a Black person gets something wrong, that is taken to reflect and reinforce stereotypes for all Black people, whereas a white person could be wrong and it's just that white person is wrong and it's not indicative of anything greater? Am I understanding that?
Yeah, that's
okay.
Exactly.
Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much. And Marley, we'll start with you on the next question as well here. You know, there's great comfort and security for anyone in feeling as though you belong. So what are some of the messages that you've heard throughout your life about whether or not you belong in your sport? And those could be explicit or implicit, or positive or negative. And just how do those help or hurt you along the way? Marley?
I think that one thing that my parents have always instilled in me from a young age is that you have to make, especially as a Black person or person of color, you have to make room for yourself. Like, there's no one that's just going to give you anything. You're not going to be handed anything. Like, you have to make your own space, whether you belong or not. And so my parents have always just taught me that, like, letting your talent and your hard work and your dedication show through, to not give anyone the chance to hold anything against you or even feed into those stereotypes, because you've done the work and you have the talent and you can show up and do what you need to do. And I think that that's one of the more positive messages that kind of has helped me through all of the maybe stereotypes and kind of not listening to them at all, just because I know, like, I belong here, and I know that my hard work has led me here, my dedication has led me here, and I deserve to be here just as much as my white counterparts do.
Thanks, Marley. Isaac?
Yeah, and I agree with Marley. There's definitely been a lot of more positive, unfortunately, than negative. I've had my parents who've instilled in both of us that, you know, they said that we already have 2 strikes against us, that we're Black and that we're male. And so, you know, we obviously have to work as harder than our white counterparts, much harder, just to get by. Just to get the simple things that white counterparts do by easy, we have to work twice as hard just to get it. And then even when we work as hard, we might not even get it just because of the color of our skin. Like, I'm proud to be a Black man. Like, I didn't choose it, but I'm definitely proud. I have no regrets or anything like that. There's been positive for my family. My family has been very positive and very supportive of me and my brother during this whole transition with swimming and stuff like that. We've had a lot of sit downs where they've said, you know, you and your brother are doing something that no one's ever done before. And to be able to hear that from a lot of people, not just your family, but also people outside your family, to wake up and realize that, you know, you're on the verge of doing something like historical. How many people can wake up and realize that, and how many people can say that? I definitely have never realized that when I was younger. You couldn't have told me that. But dealing with that. And there's been a lot of positivity, less negative, but a lot of positivity.
Cool. Thanks, Isaac. Will?
Throughout my life, I have never personally received negative feedback on whether I belonged in a sport or not. I understand the history behind swimming in Black people. Like we don't swim. That's just a fact. And I always felt like I belonged only because I never received like negative feedback from my peers, my coaches, and other people. But I knew that out there, most people felt like they don't belong. They should go back to playing track, football, basketball, whatever they want to say. And in a way that bugged me, but it didn't bug me to the point where it would affect me in my training, emotionally or physically. There was this meet that I made when I was 17 years old. And it's a significant meet for me because it involves having the top 18 and under swimmers in the world represent, Team USA across all the world. And there's only 3 Black guys on that team. It was me and 2 other guys. And when I look around and I think about that, I realize I don't care what anybody says. I'm here because of the hard work that I put in. I'm here because of the talent, my God-given gift, and that I'm proud to represent, the United States. I'm proud to represent as a Black athlete in a sport where I should not be in, according to the social stigma. We have received, obviously from my family, we received many positive feedback from them. We've had a lot of sit-down conversations. Again, like Isaac was saying, that we're doing something that no one else has ever seen. We're the only 2 African-American twins in swimming. And that's significant for us. And I'm proud. Every single day I wake up, like no one can say anything to me that will cause me to doubt myself, cause me to disbelief in my talents and my abilities and the hard work that I put in, just because I know for a fact I'm here because of my hard work. I'm here because of the sacrifices that I've made that any great athlete would make to accomplish what they want to, because anything worth having is going to take sacrifices. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. And as long as I know that I put those in, then I'm going to accomplish everything that I want to.
Thanks, Will. That was fantastic. Appreciate it. Darielle, can you chime in here on this?
Yes. So I've never had any negative feedback said to me personally, but just based off of experience, these are the things that I've kind of developed in my head. And one thing that I used to always tell myself, speak on what you know. If you don't know it, then don't say anything about it. And I think that kind of goes along with the question that we just answered, with me feeling like I'm in like that box to where I can't really express myself the way that I want to, because I don't want to seem, like I don't know what I'm talking about, like I'm crazy or whatever the case may be. And that's also been one of the reasons why I haven't been such a huge fan of interviews. I feel like most of the time, like when I'm talking, like even in settings like this, I feel like I have to have notes. I have to have notes that are like help me and like, guide me through. And, so I know what I'm talking about. But just being all the way honest, I don't need notes, but it took for me to kind of to accept the skin that I'm in, to know, okay, well, there's nothing that I can do about my skin color. I mean, obviously that's helped me back in the past, but I refuse to let that define who I am today. Like, I just feel like it's something that I had to, even with me reaching out to some of my teammates and letting them know, hey, I feel like, this is an issue. I decided to send a group message to, my team and the staff and everyone, and kind of just bring awareness to everything that's been going on, and just letting them know, if you ever feel like, anybody's being racist around you, please correct that for the sake of me and my teammates, everyone else on this team who is Black. And I feel like with me doing that, if I didn't speak up on that, I would have been a part of the problem. I would be a part of everything that's going on right now. It's my duty as a Black woman to speak up and to speak on what I believe in, and not let that speak on what mindset define me.
Thank you, Darielle. That was fantastic. Tiara.
So kind of just to reiterate what Darielle said, I actually have had some negative messages thrown at me throughout my time playing volleyball since I was younger. So how Dario kind of explained that there's this stigma that Black girls are just, you know, nothing more than just athletic, or we lack IQ in our sport. I actually play a different position than Dario. I'm actually an outside hitter. She's a middle hitter. And one thing that is in our sport that you see is that most middles are Black women. So for me, the one thing that I've heard growing up is that, you know, Black girls can't pass. And so just a little like info and background knowledge of our sport, you know, most middles, they don't play back row. But as an outside hitter, I'm a 6 rotation player. I play back row, I pass. So one thing that I've heard is that, you know, like we lack IQ, we can't pass, we lack the technical aspect of the game, which is just not the case. And so for me, how I am, that didn't hurt me. If anything, it helped me. For starters, I make sure that I do extra reps with the international balls, which basically they're harder to pass, just to make sure that when I step on the court, no one can say that this Black girl can't pass. And then also, not to mention, because Dario is my teammate, one thing that I know that she'll do for me is, you know, she'll stay and serve for me. Balls that I might not be good at right then and there, I'm gonna be better at it by the end of practice, just because, you know, she's standing there helping me. So I think for me, all the negativity that I've heard in my sport that has been thrown at me just because of the position that I play, it's done nothing to hurt me. If anything, it helps me and it motivates me to not for perfection, if anything, but just to be the best version of myself that I can be, as well as the best version of a volleyball player that I can be.
Thank you, Tiara. Anything else here? And actually, our next question is one that several of you have touched on already. So I just want to put the spotlight there. You know, you've all invested countless hours of hard work to reach where you are, you know, athletically and academically. You know, that probably goes unseen by pretty much everyone except for maybe yourselves and maybe some really close friends or family. So have you had experiences where someone cheapens that or tries to cheapen that in terms of what you've invested and how much you've put into get where you are? Trinity, would you like to start us off here?
So me growing up, I feel like all the hours and the work that I put in was pretty evident because I had to leave school early or I needed somebody to drop me off. And so everybody pretty much knew the work that I was putting in. So I was blessed enough that everybody pretty much respected like what I was doing and how much work I was putting in. But for those who didn't know, I think sometimes you could tell when they didn't because they're kind of ignorant about it and like, why do you need to go? Like, you don't even need to do all of that. Like, that's too much. Be like, so I think some people just didn't understand, but those who were close to me, I always had their support and their respect for as many hours as I was putting in the gym. So I think for me, I was blessed, but I know I've seen a lot of other people who have been talked to in a way like it was just because they were Black or just because they had those genes that they could do so, but not for me so much.
Thanks, Trinity. Alex?
Definitely. I feel like some people, they don't understand the work that we put in. Sometimes like our family and close friends, they do see all the hard work, but definitely leaving school early was a big thing. Some people just thought, oh, she gets to leave school early, she has it so much easier, but not really. I might have had only 5 classes at school, but then I had other online classes, and then I had practice on top of that for 5 hours or so each day. So it was a lot of work. And I remember one time I was in the 7th grade and I was going to be doing homeschooling, like virtual school, the next year. And one of the administrators, he asked me, I forgot the conversation, but he asked me a question and I told him, I'm like, I'm not going to be here next year. I'm moving to homeschool. And he said, why? And I was like, well, because of gymnastics and the schedule that we have. And he said, wow, you're switching your whole schooling around just for a sport. But he was kind of making it seem like I'm dropping out of school, and that wasn't the case. I was just doing homeschool. I was still gonna be in all my courses. I was actually taking harder courses than what I would have been taking in real school for 8th grade. So I felt like he was kind of just like downplaying gymnastics. And I also feel like a lot of people think in certain sports, especially gymnastics, they think we just play around all day, or we just, do flips and that's it. Well, we do, but it's a lot more than just flipping around. Like there's a lot more that goes into our sport.
Thanks, Alex. Naya?
Okay, so the first one that I really we get that I feel like is when people talk about oh, you only go on these 2 events because you're Black. Like for one, Black people are known for like being fast and like really powerful, and I feel like they kind of expect African American athletes to do specific things. That's one way that I feel like it's like, no, I worked hard on every event to actually get to where I am, or I worked hard in everything that comes with my sport to get here. I put in the time, the effort, the sacrifices that go into being an athlete. Also, the other thing that I noticed when you go to a D1 or a big known athletic school is, oh, you only got here because of your sport. You're African American, so you wouldn't be able to get to this, PWI that is top whatever in education. Like there's no way you would have gotten here without that. And it's like, no, I had to do the right thing and put the same amount of effort that I did with sports into my schooling. So no, I did the amount of work. And then the other thing is I've had a class before where people are just like, oh, well, you don't have to do athletes, when you're being an athlete, everything is just dummied down for you, or you don't have to do hard work to actually get the grades that you get, or, you're Black, so you can find other people to do your work for you, or things like that. So, yeah.
Thanks, Naya. And for those of you who may have heard the reference to PWI, that's a predominantly white institution. Will?
So I know that I put in a lot of hard work over the years. I've been swimming for 13 plus years, and I can speak, I understand that like a lot of swimmers feel the same way, but no one wants to get up at 5 a.m. to jump into a cold pool. You're not going to get up at 5 a.m. to go take a cold shower. So why would you want to get in the pool at 5 to jump in the cold pool? I understand that, my family, they know how much hard work I put in. My close friends, they know the sacrifices that I've put in, all the hard work that I put in. But many people who watch us, I know for a fact, because of this experience that I'm about to tell you about, they don't understand. So we had a meet in Georgia, and I was in the stall taking a shower after a meet, after one of my races. And I'm primarily the 50 swimmer, so there was these kids that were coming in, and they were talking about how, oh yeah, did you see those Davis twins? Dude, they're big, like they're fast, like they're really cut. And this one kid comments on it. He says, yeah, but I heard that my mom told me that she heard that they're taking steroids. And I remember saying, all right, yeah, I'm taking steroids. That's why I'm fast. And immediately I heard it and I was like, I know the truth. I'm not going to go sit here and like get in my shower while I was doing to go argue back and forth with some kid who doesn't know who I am. His mom doesn't know who I am. They probably don't know anybody that I know. So I'm not gonna sit here and argue about it. I know the hard work that I put in. I sprint, so naturally, like, I need to hone how strong I am, how fast I am, like my quick twitch fibers that I've been told that I have. And that takes hard work. You just don't wake up and you're just like, oh, like you're not just fast. Like you got to hone those skills. But there have been a lot of sacrifices over these 13 years, not only for me, but my family as well. Most people don't see that. They just see, oh, hey, you did good. That was fast. Good job afterwards. Like they don't understand that. It takes a lot. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that most people don't see. There's a lot of behind the scenes work that people don't understand. And to hear that, I know that they're probably not the first, and they certainly won't be the last to think that. But do I care? No, I don't. Because I know for a fact, I know the truth. I know it's my hard work it's the sacrifices that I put in. And over time, like, it's going to add up. So I don't have to argue back and forth with this person who thinks I'm doing this or this person who thinks I'm doing this to get ahead of the competition. Like, I'm doing exactly what you're doing, maybe even more, and I'm just working harder. So yeah.
Thanks, Will. Anything for
Can I
anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like what everyone is saying, it goes back to how we talked about when you asked like what have we been told or by our parents, anything like that, and that goes back to we have to work extra, you know, like I feel like being an African American in a predominantly white sport is so hard because it's like we do one good thing and it's like, oh, well, she only did that good thing because, you know, she has strong legs or she's stronger than the average, you know, other, you know, color white person. You know, it's like we have to work extremely hard. Like we have to do something extraordinary for it to be considered like, no, that was what she did was amazing. She's an amazing athlete, you know. It's like, and it shouldn't be that way because, you know, a white person can do something, you know, that we do and it's like, oh, she's amazing, but when we do it, it's like, well, you know, it needs to be something that is like the bar is like set so high for us, and I wish that stigma would change completely.
Can I speak on that?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to bring up the point, like everybody's kind of been talking about how, you know, African Americans have to work super hard, and I couldn't agree more. I feel like that is obviously the bottom line here, but at the end of the day, I look at it as, okay, yes, we have to work like super hard to get to where we want to be, but at the same time, I also look at it from this aspect. African American men have to work super hard. African American women have to work double hard because we're not even taken seriously. We don't have, majority of the world doesn't even look at African American women as people who are able to be construction workers. Just for an example, we are known to be in the house, cooking, taking care of children, and doing all this different type of stuff. So think about, and not only that, I also like to compare the stuff that's kind of been going on in the world. Looking at George Floyd, what happened to George Floyd and what happened to Breonna Taylor, tragic. It's tragic, traumatic. But just for an example, we see how we got justice for George Floyd. We still have not received justice for Breonna Taylor, but that just goes to show that women are not taken seriously. And the fact that it's literally been 140 days later since Breonna Taylor has been killed and nothing has been solved, I don't want to see another street painted with Black Lives Matter. I don't want to see another street that's renamed. I want to find who the kill. I want to get justice for Breonna Taylor. So that just goes to show that, yeah, we work double hard, but at the same time, it's also different standards. It's standards for men and women in the African American culture. So not only do we work in a predominantly white, you know, institute school, it's also predominantly white institute world. So
Yeah, go ahead, Tiara. Thank you, Daria.
I'm kind of gonna like touch on kind of what everyone's kind of said in a sense, but one thing that I can say, I feel like being a Black woman, especially in my sport, and I know me and Dario have actually talked about this, or I've heard her, you know, say it before, but one thing I can say is we're not respected as leaders. And so one thing in our sport, you know, it's this thing where we're, in a sense, and like, please hear me out, this is not to target anyone in the call, but you know, there's a sense that we have to be whitewashed, which basically means like the code switching thing, we have to talk a certain way, or we have to walk a certain way, or we have to walk this fine line just to be looked at as a leader, which there's so many girls on so many teams I played on who they have been African American, but the only reason they're not labeled as leader is just because of how they look and how they speak. And so I think that that is a big issue, and maybe probably all other sports as well that have minority women on their team. And I know that that's also a gender thing, which is a whole nother conversation to talk about. But I think that one thing that also needs to get better is that just because we might not have the blonde hair, blue eyes, it doesn't mean that we're not leaders. And the fact that we can carry bigger burdens than a lot of people, Black or white, male or female, whatever, I think that if anything, we should be respected a lot more. And I think that we are not taken seriously.
I definitely want to touch on what everyone was saying, but more in particular, Tiara, just because there have been times growing up where we would be doing everything that we're supposed to do. We could see something being done wrong, and we point it out. But we come off as combative, like, oh wait, whoa, back up. Whoa, like I didn't mean to, like I'm okay. There have been so many times when people have assumed that we were going to be combative just because of the way we look. And I sit there and I look at them like, yo, I'm just literally telling you something that you did that I did not like. I'm not coming at you, I'm coming to you. That was one thing that my parents instilled in me, is to not come at people, because you're gonna get a completely different reaction when you come at people, but you come to them in a respectful manner, is what we all want. And when you do that, and then you do that sometimes, and then, you know, they won't return the favor. But you still gotta do what you gotta do, because the moment that you do what they have done to you, then it's gonna be a whole different story. It's gonna be a whole different situation. That's the unfortunate world that we live in, is where what we want to be, how we want to be treated, and how we portray ourselves and what we do is right. And, you know, our white counterparts do the opposite. And if we decide, hey, I'm gonna do the opposite too, we're gonna have a completely, I don't wanna end up on CNN. That's the unfortunate circumstance. I don't want to end up on CNN. I don't want to end up on any news story because I decided to, you know, this is not fair. I'm tired of it. I want change. But because I decided to let my anger and frustration and all that build up into one moment, all it takes is one moment. It takes one moment for a life of regret, or you just loss of life. But that was a definite thing that's very important, is because people assume you're going to be one way. And I've touched on this a couple of times, is that they assume you're going to be one way. And that's the frustrating part. It's because I want to be treated the way I'm treating you. I'm treating you with respect. I'm treating you with kindness. I'm treating you with honor. I would want that to be reciprocated to me as well. So.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. Anybody else on that point before we move on?
I just want to say one thing about what Dariel said, and just reiterate the fact that although they're obviously within the Black community, everyone has difficult things that they go through, but for Black women in particular, and I think the Breonna Taylor example was absolutely perfect. And I think that in my sport in particular, I don't know if everyone's familiar with Serena Williams. If you aren't, you should be. But she goes through a lot of like discrimination and hardships, just because people, especially whenever she was first coming up, would be like, how is she so good? She has to be on something. She has to be taking steroids. And I feel like that's just something that a lot of Black women and Black men encounter. And I think Will might have touched on this, and just like kind of people trying to discount your hard work and your talent by trying to be like, oh, she takes steroids, oh, she does something that she's not supposed to do, whether it's just like, no, she's just actually very talented, and I'm sure she puts in more work than everyone else. And I think that's just one way that people try to discount Black women in particular.
Yeah, thanks, Marley. So I want to touch on, you know, I think Tiara, you mentioned this a little bit in the way that Dariel supports you in you know, by giving you extra serves and whatnot. So I want to kind of come back to this idea of what are some of the unique racial experiences that come along with having maybe just 2 or 3 Black athletes on a team versus maybe being a lone Black athlete on a team. And can you all kind of compare, contrast what those experiences are like for you, Dariel?
Yes, we actually talk about this all the time. And we talk about microaggressions that we have that happen, you know, within the sports, especially with women. So obviously everyone knows that obviously Black girls don't wash their hair every single day because we don't have to. It's the texture of our hair. We don't have to do something like that. So, you know, when I first started playing volleyball, and I was seeing, you know, being in the locker room with people. And I remember one girl was like, ew, you're not going to wash your hair? We just finished practice. And I was like, well, that's not really a thing for me. So it just kind of made me like super uncomfortable. And then another thing is how Black girls change their hair. Obviously, I don't have long blonde hair. I don't have blue eyes. So regardless if I do have, you know, long blonde hair or these two puff balls, I should be able to walk around and express myself the way I want to, because I mean, it's a free country. So it's like back to putting us in that box. Like, we're not allowed to express ourselves the way that we want to, because either we look crazy or we're doing something out of the norm. They want to be able to contain, you know, especially Black women, and have us in this, like I said, box, and not allow us to, you know, be who we really are. But I think with me, like I said, expressing, you know, myself and accepting my color and everything that I've built, you know, gone through with adversity and stuff like that, that's given me the confidence to wear these puffballs and be like, okay, well, this is me, this is who I am. So yeah, like even with TR, like I've witnessed her get questioned quite a few times about her hair as well. And I just think that, you know, if we're not allowed to be, you know, who we are, I don't judge anybody else based off of what they wear. If you know me, you know that I'm not a judgmental person at all. I'm free, welcoming person, like be who you are. So I feel like I should be able to get that same respect.
Absolutely. Thanks, Darielle. Alex?
I can definitely relate to the hair topic. Growing up, you know, it's a thing. It's a part of our culture. We change our hair a lot. You know, we do different styles. We don't wash it every day because of the way our hair is, and that it's just, we don't produce as much oil as say a person who's white, their scalp would. So we don't have to wash it as much, and it doesn't get dirty as quickly. So that's something that I definitely experienced. And also like maybe when I have braids in or twist, like they just don't understand why we do what we do with our hair, or just why it's an unnecessary thing for us to do. And I also feel like being on a team where there's only a couple Black people, you definitely are able to relate to the other people who are of your color a little bit more. You probably confide in them more than you would somebody who's not Black, and that's just something that I've had to deal with.
Thanks, Alex. Naya?
So just touching base on what, like, you know, Alex said, the hair thing, it's like, it's, I don't know why, it's just like a huge thing. Of course, my hair looks extremely different than, like, you know, some of my teammates. And, you know, it's like always like, oh, well, you can't be full Black, you know? And I'm like, no, I am. Like, no, I am. And then it's just like, well, why does your hair look different than this person? I'm just like, well, because, you know, Black people are a human race, and we're probably like one of the most diversified looking different people. We have different skin tones, different shades, you know, it's just different varieties. So that's one thing. I also, you know, one thing that I see sometimes is the Black people all look the same in their sport. I don't know, sometimes they get us mixed up, and I really don't know how. Some people, you know, I was signing autographs this one time, you know, before a football game. This one person was like, oh, you look like Gabby Douglas. And I was like, I do not look like Gabby Douglas at all. So like, it's just like that. Or, you know, some people will get like, you know, Trinity mixed up with Alicia, or Alicia mixed up with Sierra. And it's like, they're completely different people. And that's one thing that, you know, when having 2 or 3 Black people on your team, it's such like, how could you don't get the white people mixed up, or you don't get anybody else mixed up. So why are you getting mixed up with another Black person? And it's just like, do we all look the same? Because I know we don't. Everyone has different features and different things that you can point out and remember about them. So yeah, but also like Alex said, I do love when you have, well, when I was in club gymnastics, I didn't have another African-American teammate on my team. But then I came to college, and it was just like, I felt more comfortable, even though I had already experienced it, not saying that I was uncomfortable or anything like that, but I had already experienced what it felt like to not have someone, a person of color on my team. And then when I came to college, it was like, I feel more comfortable. I could, talk to them more, or, try to get to, relate to them as much as possible. Because back home, that's what I'm used to. I'm used to being around African-American people. So it was kind of like a home feeling and like a safety thing. And I had people to relate to, and that's always great. So.
Thanks, Naya. Trinity?
So for me, definitely growing up, I live in a primarily white area, and doing gymnastics with a lot of white girls, I just grew up feeling really insecure, and like I had to be a certain way so I could fit in with them. And like I would bring like my shower cap to a sleepover or something because I was like embarrassed for some reason. And I don't know why I was like that anymore, because I don't know, I've grown up and I'm more confident in myself now. And I can definitely say that like going to college and having other Black teammates for like the first time was like really, really good for me, because I felt way more secure. Like I had somebody to talk to, and like, so that just really helped me, I guess, grow up and find my confidence and like my self-love. So I really appreciate having other Black teammates, and it's helped me a lot.
Awesome. Thanks, Trinity. Isaac?
So it's been primarily my brother and I. I was actually going to touch on what Naya was saying about, you look like that one guy, and then I realized, yeah. But it's growing up, there have been a lot of people who have said, he could be the next, let's say, Colin Jones, or who can be the next gum guy. I don't want to be the next anybody. That guy was born for his time and did his thing for his own reasons. I'm going to be the next me. That's a lot of that. That's a kind of like an ignorant comment to say he's going to be the next this person, or he's going to be the next person. Why can't he just be the next himself? It's been, like I said, primarily my brother and I. With the sport of swimming, it's really hard to find an all Black team, or just a team with more Black people. But it was just me and him, and we stuck together through all the hardships and stuff like that. We kind of kept each other in check. But there would be times when we both got discouraged. But that's when we turned to our parents, and they helped us out, get through it, and then we were able to get through what we needed to get through in order to get to where we are right now. Coming here, it's still just us. But we've been grounded in the foundation that with us, there's so much power in with being together. Of course, we have our own individuality. Our coach, Nesty, is so adamant on keeping us separate. I remember our freshman year, he was adamant about keeping us away from each other when we got here. In a different meets, he would make us swim different events or something like that, just to keep us away from each other, because he knows, being brothers, how much we would butt heads if we were together all the time. Especially in meets, we would kind of like get really intense or really competitive with each other, and that would kind of create not necessarily a negative impact, but it would get annoying at some point. And so, having that individuality to do our own thing and to grow by ourselves, but also realize that there is power with us being together, and that although it is special for us to be apart, it is even more important and even more special to be together, because there is nothing like it. So that's pretty much it.
Thanks, Isaac. Anything else here on this topic before we? Yeah, go, Alex. Okay. Alex and Marley both.
Sorry.
Okay, I'll go. Just one more thing, and I've said it before, but I feel that if there's only 2 or 3 or 4 of us on a team, I feel like it shouldn't be that hard for people to like remember our names or put a face to the name, because there's not that many of us. It shouldn't be that difficult of a task.
Fair point. Marley?
I love that so many people at UF like have other Black people on their teams to identify with and to relate to. I have a bit of a different experience. Tennis isn't really a team sport until you come to college. It's kind of very much individual. So I've never really had the whole like team aspect. There are team events, but being on an entire team is new when you come to college. And I am the only Black person on my team. So I can't really relate to a lot of the experiences where like you have someone else to kind of talk back and forth with. That's why I like to find Black people outside of my sport, because I don't have any teammates to kind of talk to those things about. Just like with the hair thing, like when you have braids, like, oh, how long is your actual hair? Like, how long do you leave them in? Just like questions like that kind of thing. And it's not like in a bad way or anything. But it does kind of get annoying. But I think that's why groups like the Black Student-Athlete group that we have at UF, I think it's so important and like so beneficial for me in particular, just because I, on my own team, don't have that. And so to have that kind of experience, like even just like this, to kind of share your own experiences and relate on things and just know that you're not alone in the experiences that you have and the things that you experience are so important. And so that's why I'm so appreciative of opportunities like this to talk about these things that maybe I don't get to talk to, or other people who are the only Black people on their team get to say it often. And so I just wanted to say that I'm really appreciative for the Black Student-Athlete group that we have at UF. And I think it's really important to keep those things going and to have groups like that for people like me.
Thanks, Marley.
I wanted to say something because Alex actually helped me remember. When you do have 2 to 3 people on a team, it's not hard to remember their names. We've been regarded as the twins. Yo, there go the twins. They're twins over there. Like, they know our names. There will be people who knew our names but would regard us as the twins, even when they're referring to us as an individual. But I felt that growing up, that was kind of like, it was kind of ignorant, because, you know, you didn't really take the time to know us as an individual. You just put us both together. We are, like I said, we are our own individuals. We have our own different personalities. Although we are twins, we have similar features. We are our own people. We are our own individual, and we have our own different personalities. And to get to know us is better than just assuming that, oh, there go the twins, or just something like that. That was just something that I remembered. So thank you, Alex, for that.
Thanks, Isaac. I want to move on. What makes you feel seen? You know, whether in the classroom, whether in your competition, in your day-to-day life, you know, what are the indicators that you look for to let you know that you're understood and appreciated, or not? Will, would you start us off?
So naturally, I feel seen because I'm African American and I'm male. Oftentimes, and there's this one experience that I'll never forget. This is actually the first time I'm saying this. I've never told anybody about this, but I was in the store. I was in Target one time, and I'm having a good day. I'm just going in there looking for some T-shirts or whatever. And I noticed this woman. I seen her in a couple different parts of the store, and I'm like, okay, you're in the shirt section, you're in the laundry detergent section, and you're in the juice section. So these are all different places. And I'm walking through these sections, just trying to see, is she following me? So then after I get a little irritated, I turn around and I bump into her around the corner. And she like gasps, like as if I did something. I was like, okay, cool. So she dropped like her groceries or whatever. So like I helped her pick them up and everything and gave it back to her. I was like, have a nice day. And I felt like she was following me. And it was clear to me that she more likely than not was. I wasn't really bugged by it that much. But oftentimes I feel like people don't understand. They don't understand my purpose. They don't understand why I do the things that I do. Being appreciated, I feel most of the time I'm appreciated. There have been times when I have done things for different people, sacrificed so much time, effort, money, and I didn't always get everything. I don't do things to expect the same return. Like I do things out of love. I have a sign that my door that says, let everything that I do be done in love. And I just live by that. So I don't always expect to get the same reciprocation of what I did for someone else. But sometimes it does hurt. Sometimes at night when I think about it and I'm alone and I'm sitting here thinking about, dang, I did this for this person and they're nowhere to be found when I need them. And it hurts. I genuinely feel like it hurts. And not many people know that about me. I'm a huge thinker. I like to be by myself. Not that I'm an introvert or anything. It's just, I find peace in seclusion most of the time. Being appreciated is something that I feel like won't always be 100% throughout my life. And that's something that I don't have to stand for, but I know that it's going to be very difficult to get to 100% appreciation, just in everything that I do, whether it's in my sport, outside of my sport, just in my job, in the real world, with relationships, with anything. So yeah.
Thanks, Will. Tiara, can you speak to that?
For me, the indicators that let me know that I'm understood and appreciated is when people just allow me to be myself. And for me, when I first meet people, I'm not an extrovert at all. I think Daryl could tell you that. I like to observe. I'm very reserved. So for me, I think on teams that I've been on, the ones who have understood me the most and appreciated me the most are the ones who just allow me to naturally come out of my shell. I feel like in my collegiate years, it's been really hard for people to accept that. I feel like maybe it's because I feel like it could be the possibility that we're in front of a camera more. But I think for me, I know how to talk, I know how to speak. So if someone can just trust me and understand, like, I'm not gonna be this quiet girl when the cameras come out. I promise, like, I know how to talk, I know how to be. So I think if you can just understand that and appreciate that and trust that, then I will feel understood and appreciated, and in return, I will trust you. So.
Thanks, Tiara. Deanne?
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. Like, the things that would make me feel seen would be coaches, teammates, just people in general, just not limiting like abilities to physical and like power, speed, like stuff like that. But like, why can't the Black female athletes that play soccer have good soccer IQ, or why can't they be the leaders like people were talking about before? Like, there's many Black female athletes and female soccer players in particular that I see that can be the best players on their team, where they have so many achievements, but for some reason, like, it's so undermined compared to some of the other athletes like that have not even as well achievements. So yeah, I think those type of things would make me feel seen.
Thanks, Deanne. Anything else there before? Yeah, go ahead, Naya.
So over the past couple years, I've had like a large amount different types of coaching. But I would say coming to college, my coaches like accepting who I am, my coaching staff, my trainer, everyone who I work with at the university dealing with gymnastics, they've accepted me, and I feel like we never have been like that accepted by people before. And it really helps because it's like, oh, every single one of my coaches, I feel like they really see like the individual that I am, the individual who I want to be, and they let me do that. And it like means the world to me to have like people like who coach me, and I see that they want the best for me. So I feel like that plays a big part, like having people who look after you, especially your coaches, because you have some coaches out there who are just, interested in like one set of like individual or, one group of people. And they're like, well, these are the people who are, helping the team or helping the university. So we're just going to focus on them and then just leave everyone else to the side. And I feel like my coaches don't do that. And I just really love that because it helps not only with like your sport, but also like the individual who I want to be when I get out of college and when I finish my sport. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Naya.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Like granted, even just walking into a store, I feel like that I'm always being watched. And I know I'm guilty of this. I'd walk into a store and I'd see one of us, dressed in a certain type of way, kind of lurking or leering around certain areas of the store. And I'm not necessarily following them, but I just keep my eye when I'm going in their direction. I'm guilty of that. But with the kindness thing, when I do things for people, I don't expect much. I don't expect anything. I don't do it to have something given to me. When my parents instilled in me is to do things for other people, even when they're not going to do it for you. Kindness, it's just being kind, just being truly kind. Kindness to me was being present for those who were absent for you. There have been a lot of people who unfortunately have not reciprocated the kindness that my brother and I have given to them, even just little things. But when it really mattered and when we really needed them, when we really counted on them to be there, they weren't there. And it was a disheartening moment to realize that, what we thought was important to them, if we thought our relationship with them was important, they really didn't see it that way. So in being seen is that, whenever I get up on the block or whenever I, step up for my relay, I'm not doing it for me. That's one of the best things about swimming is that it's an individual sport, but it's really a team sport. Every time you do a great individual swim, it goes towards the team score, and then we build on that. But when I step on the blocks for my relay, I'm not doing it for me. I don't think about me. I don't think about anyone else. I think about doing it for my team. I think for doing it for God, most importantly. I think about doing it for my family, because if it was not for them, I would not be here. My family has sacrificed so much for me to be here, for both me and my brother. And when I get to that point, I'm just realizing that all eyes are on me. I put on the work. I'm going to do what I need to do and not worry about anyone else. Those people who are watching me, who weren't there for me now, who aren't going to be there for me, you're going to see me. You're going to see the reason why. You weren't there for me, but I'm always going to be there for you regardless. So.
Thanks, Isaac. All right, we have one last question, but I think nearly everyone wanted the opportunity to touch on it, which is fantastic. So just for those of you watching, we're winding it down here, but I think it'll be great to hear from you all on this question. So how do you see yourselves impacting future generations of athletes in your sport? And how do you view the opportunity or the burden of being a role model? Naya, can we start with you?
Yeah. So me, we're all in predominantly white sports. So I think that us just showing our face and being a part of the school that we are and the sport that we're in, it does a lot for little kids. I don't know about you guys, but growing up, I used to see athletes and I adored them and I wanted to be like them. There's people on the gymnastics team that I used to watch and I used to be like, I want to be like them. And now I can say that, I was a part of one of the, a team that they were on previously before me. So that just does a lot, them just seeing our faces, because at the end of the day, it's the more you see someone who looks like you, the more you feel as though you can do the same thing as them. So when I see, Gabby Douglas or Simone or people like that, it's I you know what I mean? I want to be like them. When I saw them go to Olympics, I was I want to be like them. I can, if they can do it, so can I. It might not be as, great as them, but I can still strive and push myself to know. So the other thing I like to install in little kids when I see them is just keep going. No matter what you do, keep going, no matter what. So yeah.
Thanks, Naya. Marley?
Yeah, so I love this question because I think that that's one thing that I'm super passionate about. And I honestly don't look at it as a burden at all. I think it's really exciting and it's a privilege and an honor to be a role model for kids looking to get into tennis or any Black kid in general. I think that in my sport in particular, as I said in the beginning, people are oh, Black people play tennis. Obviously you see Serena and Venus, but so it's and like Naomi Osaka and stuff. Like there's other ones in Coco Gauff, but so it's like exciting for me, even just like on the smaller scale that I'm on, and being at Florida, which is like a very prestigious academic and athletic school, and just kind of kids being like, oh, like I can do it too, like I can do it too, like if you can do it, I can do it, and just like even like Naya said, like showing your face and being here and just like doing the work and doing what you're already doing is inspiring enough for them. And there's this organization in Gainesville that I work with. It's called Aces in Motion, and it's like amazing. It's like kids in other parts of Gainesville, and just basically brings them together and play tennis, and just kind of teaching them tennis, showing them that like there are opportunities in sports other than the typical sports that like people put you in a box to play, like basketball or whatever it is, and football, especially for Black men. And so I think that it's a really big opportunity, and it's really exciting to be able to inspire just like one person, if that's what you can do.
Thanks, Marley. Will?
Initially, I wasn't always thinking about being a role model when I was growing up swimming. I kind of just wanted to focus on myself and the team aspect of the sport, but just kind of just wanted to be like the best. And I was just focused on myself, not worried about whether I was inspiring someone here or someone there. And as I was getting older, I started hearing people, talk about us in positive ways. Like, here, this is my kid. I brought them to see you swim because I wanted to see what it looks like to, work hard, let them know that they can do it. My mom has had many parents from different teams, college teams as well, especially at the SEC championship, talking about how it's a pleasure to watch us swim. Your boys are so nice, all this different stuff. Like, my kids love watching your kids swim. Sometimes at our home meets, I would be getting ready behind the blocks before my race, and I hear my name, and I look up, and I'm like, where's that coming from? And I see this family I've never seen before. I have no idea who they are, but apparently they know me. And before I went off on my race, they were talking about how I brought my kids to see you swim. I want them to see what it's like to work hard. I want them to see that if you can do it, they can do it as well. And every single day I'm always thinking, you know what? It's bigger than me. It's bigger than the sport. It's bigger than anything outside. Like, now I'm not more so doing it for me, but to inspire like as many people as I can. Because as I'm getting older, I realize that I want to leave a legacy. How I walked, how I carried myself, how I talked, carried myself with poise, with dignity, with honor, with grace, with kindness. I wouldn't call it more so a burden, just like the unfortunate circumstance of being someone else's role model. Because when you have a kid you don't even know, who probably has a picture of you, knows your name, probably follows you wherever you want, and they look up to you. They may be going through something really hard in their lives, different hardships, different difficulties, and they look at you and they see, you know what? As long as I keep my head down and as long as I work hard, I can do it. And as soon as you mess up, then their perspective of you just diminishes, and it could make or break them. That's something that I've definitely learned watching, many celebrities that I grew up looking for up to, and when they, messed up and stuff. I mean, everybody makes mistakes. It's the people that learn from them and become better after that makes a difference. Oftentimes I would get messages on my Instagram from parents talking about, hey, this is my kid. I want you to talk to him because he's a little discouraged right now with swimming. And I would talk to them. I would talk to random kids all the time. And the same words that play back in my head is my mom would say, this is bigger than you. This is bigger than anything you could understand or even believe, in that if you just keep yourself straight, keep God first and foremost, because we are a faith-based family. Keep them straight, keep God first. You can inspire a generation. And at the end of my life, I want to know that I inspired so many people. I want to know that my legacy was positive. I didn't have any issues with anyone, and that, yeah, that's the end of it, actually. Yeah, that was about, yeah, that's it.
Will. Thanks. Alex?
Definitely. I don't feel as if this is a burden either. I feel like it's a little pressure, but it's good pressure that's needed. I feel like it's definitely an opportunity to be a role model for young Black girls and boys to see that, hey, there might not be that many Black athletes in a predominantly white sport, but, there are some, and we're doing well in it, and if I can do it, then they can do it too. And I feel like it will also help their self-esteem, just to show them that they matter too, and that they can do anything that they put their mind to. No challenge is too big for them. And I remember when I was little, I used to go to the meets, the Florida meets, a lot with my teammates, and I would always see all the Black athletes or Black gymnasts that came before me, and I would watch them, and I would kind of imagine myself being in their shoes. And to say that I'm going to be joining the gymnastics team is really a blessing, and it's a dream come true, because I still can't believe that I'm going to be there in about a week or so. And it's just amazing.
Thanks, Alex. Deanne?
Yeah, for me, like definitely growing up, I was inspired by Black males and females. So but I didn't realize until I actually grew up how inspiring that it actually is, not just for Black males and females, but people of all minorities. Like they see Black and Black, Asian, different types of minorities of people, and they're stepping up, so they get inspired by that. And I think that it's not a burden at all. Like it just gives me something else to play for, and I think that that's just adds one more driving factor.
Thanks, Deanne. Jamie?
Yeah, so I completely think that, impacting and being a role model for future generations, especially in softball, is an opportunity. I've gotten numerous messages from Black individuals, whether it was a parent or an athlete, that, just said thank you. Just thank you for simply inspiring me or showing me that, you're living proof of someone who looks like me, and you're showing it can be done. Black girls can play a white dominating sport at a high level. And, my goal is to continue being an inspiration for these women and girls. Because kind of like how Will was saying, the truth is this is bigger than the game of softball or any sport. We have to think about it. Like all of us are athletes and predominantly white teams, and we don't give ourselves enough credit. Like we're a part of something that many people are discouraged to do. And I think we're courageous and we're brave, and we're always put in an uncomfortable situation daily, even in the sport that, we're passionate about and that we love. So just looking at it that way just inspires me to inspire others.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jamie. Tiara?
So one way that I see myself impacting future generations, for me, it's just kind of making it known to them to not allow fear to keep them from doing what they love. Coming from someone, I have actually faced a lot of adversity within my sport. Had an ACL tear my senior year of high school, had a rod put in my leg. I've even had teammates who play in my same position try to diminish my career by making accusations. I think one thing I want athletes, or specifically Black women, to know, or little girls that will grow to be Black women, to know that you're going to face adversity, especially playing a predominantly white sport, or you're going to face adversity whether it's just in your everyday life. It's just going to happen. We're one of the most oppressed individuals in this country. So I think just allowing them to know, don't be afraid to be yourself, and don't be afraid to speak out. There's nothing wrong with it. Honestly, embrace it. People fear that, and honestly, that's on them and that's their fault. But I don't see it being a burden. as being a role model. Honestly, at my previous school, because I transferred here, I've actually had a little girl ask me in the middle of autographs, like, are you the captain? And the one thing I told her was, you don't have to be the captain to be the leader. And so one thing that I stand by, like, don't be afraid to speak out and lead. So, yeah.
Thanks, Tiara. Isaac?
Yeah, I don't see it as a burden at all. In fact, I absolutely love it. Every time I get a message from a kid that I've impacted in a positive way, it always makes me happy because it reminds me of the man that my mom has taught me to be and to do the things that she said I was going to do. I remember there was a camp for a swim camp about last year. We had a lot of kids there. There was a lot of kids there. And previously when they had the camps, they had maybe one or two nice emails, something like that. When we went there, as well as a couple of our other swimmers, we had maybe like 10 each week. And to have that impact and just saying the coaches, the staff, the swimmers that were helping out with the kids, they loved them so much. They learned so much from them. I've received personal messages from those kids saying, thank you for, taking care of us, helping us out. There would be kids who would be struggling with swimming and deciding whether they want to continue it or not. I would help them in the best way I could, kind of encouraging them to do what they think is best. I don't want to make them believe that they have to keep swimming if they don't want to. I would love for you to swim, but only if you love to swim. Swimming is one of those sports, as well as every other sport, but you have to love it to do it, because it is hard. When you get discouraged, when you get to a point where it's hard, you have to realize how much you love the sport and that you want to do. Me impacting future generations, one thing that I want to be known for my work, for what I leave behind. One thing that I would like everyone, but more likely these kids growing up that watch all of us, each and every last athlete, is to realize that they come from royalty. Not a lot of them know that they come from royalty. They come from royal blood. To realize that they are special in their own right, and to realize that no one can take that away from them. No one can take that away from them. There might be people who will be like, oh, yeah, you're not really that special or anything like that, but they have no idea how special these kids actually are, and to impact them the way that we do is a very special thing. And I hope that, parents, teach these kids that they do come from an important race. They do come from royalty because they are special. And to realize, not only be able to tell them that, but help them realize that that is true, and to carry themselves out accordingly. But other than that, that's it.
Thanks, Isaac. Trinity?
So being a role model to me is not a burden at all. I honestly see it as an opportunity, and I saw from a young age that little kids looked up to me, and that even older kids looked up to me too. And so even from a young age, I knew that I was somebody who people were watching, and I was an inspiration to somebody, and I wanted to make it my journey to be a good one. And so after every meet, I'm on the floor after, talking to the kids on the side, signing autographs and taking pictures, because I know how important that is to them and how much that they look up to me. And I just really want to say thank you to them, and they're awesome. So I want them to know how much I appreciate them and how they can do it too. And so I think just being a role model isn't really that hard. I guess I can't speak for everybody, but it's not hard for me. I think it comes pretty naturally, and I am really happy to be one to all those little kids.
Thanks, Trinity. I want to give an opportunity before we go, if anybody had any outstanding thoughts they wanted to share, as long as we're all here.
I want
to go. Sorry.
Darielle, then Will, how's that sound?
No, you can go first.
I'm sorry, did you not go?
I win, but you can go first.
Okay. So I like to look at being a role model as leading by example. I think that's something that my mom has always instilled in me growing up, is to lead by example. And I honestly, truly believe that all of us were chosen to be athletes for a reason. I believe that sports is probably something that everybody in the world watches, and that's obviously something that we play. And sports is just a good resource for us to be able to reach out to others and reach out to the young kids that look up to us. And one thing that I've always wanted to get across to young girls, especially young African American women, is no matter where you come from, you are able to make it to a level this high. You are able to make it to a level higher. And with me, I did not grow up in a predominantly white neighborhood or nothing like that. Like I, actually went through a lot of stuff as a young woman. So to make it this far and go through some of the adversity that I've gone through in the past, I believe that planting seeds to young children and letting them know, okay, regardless of if you came from a predominantly white neighborhood or if you did not come from that, this is me, this is who I am, and I want to show them that you can make it this way, regardless if even if a dark-skinned girl wants to wear hair like I have mine or whatever the case may be. You are able to do that. You are worth that. And I think that some people don't really know their worth well enough to know that, okay, they're not obviously not confident within themselves. But I think that as time goes on, and with us especially having this conversation and with the people that's watching, I hope that, you guys are moved by some of the stuff that we are talking about and you're able to pass on our experiences, because just this alone, this is just us planting seeds alone. So with us planting the seeds to y'all and to each other, we're able to impact like that easily. So that's kind of how I would like to be remembered as a role model, is planting seeds and leading by example.
Thanks, Dario. Will, did you have something else?
I wanted to touch on finally what Dario was saying about leading by example. My advice for anyone who's watching and anyone who talks about this after this, I would say don't listen to the naysayers. There will be many, many different people who will say, oh, you can't do this, that's different, or you can't do that. And the people, regardless of whether you're in a sport or whether you're out there in the real world, the ones who did things, the ones who made significant changes in our society are the ones who didn't listen, and the ones who stepped out of the societal standard. I believe that everyone is unique, and I believe everyone has potential to do something, but oftentimes they get so inside of their head and listening to what other people are saying that they just discourage themselves. And then what could have been the cure to cancer, the cure to other diseases is not being, implemented because, they have self-doubt from listening to other people. Believe in yourself. That's something that I'm starting to get a grasp on, because sometimes I doubt myself and my abilities. And at the end of the day, know who you are, regardless of what anybody else says. They may talk about how you look. They may talk about how you speak. They may talk about how you walk, which is dumb. But, people will talk about that. They'll find anything to talk about to bring you down. They'll put you in the box of being with everybody else, being the same as everybody else. The ones who do the greatest things in society are the ones who step out of societal standard and the ones who step out and do things differently. So my final advice would be just don't listen to the naysayers. Do what you want. Have courage in yourself, whether it's, stepping out on faith, starting a new business or starting a new relationship. You can't start unless you move forward. So just start walking, and that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Will. Anything else for anyone? Yes, Alex. Alex and Jamie.
Okay, my only other thing I would have to say is for little kids out there, just to know that you are special, that you mean something in this world, and that you can make or achieve any goal that you put in front of yourself.
Thanks, Alex. Jamie?
I just want to say it's okay to have the desire to want to get to know a Black athlete aside from their sport. I know a lot of people disregard that we actually are more than, an athlete. And I know it's been a phrase that's been said often, but really think about that. This is going to sound corny, but I have likes and dislikes. I have fascinations and fears, dreams, nightmares, all that, I really am more than just an athlete.
Thanks, Jamie.
I have one more thing to add a little on what Will was saying is that those, like, be encouraged. Those same people who were telling you that you couldn't do something, those same people who were worrying about and trying to figure out any and every way to discourage you and to tell you that you can't do something, those same people that you're going to be looking down on when you're sitting at the top because you didn't listen to them. So that was just one thing that I wanted to add is that, keep doing what you're doing, because those people that are spending all that time and energy saying what you can't do is going to only fuel you even more. So.
Thanks, Isaac. Anything else? Awesome. I want to thank all of our panelists so much for your time, your energy, your effort, your vulnerability with everybody today. It's been fantastic, and I don't have the words to say thank you to you all for your time today. So thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.